So let's look at another example. Now this time I'm in the format of y squared minus x squared, which means that this is going to be a vertical graph. And with a vertical graph, my branches are going to open up and down in this direction, and I'll have my foci on the inside this way. Now for this graph, if you want, you can think about having this as over 1 to make it easier. But again, my center is going to be at 0, 0. Again, this is always my a squared, which means a in this case is 1. And this is always my b squared, so b is 2. So I'm going to look at my c squared, which is a squared plus b squared, which is 5. And so my c value is the square root of 5. Now I need to have that exact value when I write down what my foci are. But again, that's approximately 2.1, 2.2. Now, when I graph these, let's go over to our graph again. Start looking at our technique. My center is at 0, 0. And now my a value, now I'm going to move up 1 unit and down 1 unit to be able to get to my vertices. And it's kind of tight in here, but that's okay. They're really close together. And then I move outwardly 2 to get my covertex. Now again, my foci are on the inside of where my branches are. So if my branches are going to open up and down, I need to graph my foci, which is about 2.1 and negative 2.1. And so before I graph my branches, again, I need to create this little box. All right, it's a tiny little box this time. And my asymptotes. Kind of helps me guide my graph. Now, if you want, we can figure out what those are first. Again, I have a y-intercept that's 0, but I'm going to go up 1 and over 2. So one of my asymptotes is going to be 1/2 of x, or down 1 and to the right 2, or negative 1/2 of x. Now, when I graph my foci, graph my branches, we're going to go out from my vertex this way, and again this way. So I know it's kind of tight in there and kind of small. Hopefully you can see your coordinates still. But again, your vertices is going to be my positive 1 and negative 1 y values. So 0 and 1 and 0, negative 1. And those foci were plus and minus my c value. And so I'm going to go back over here to my foci, and that's going to be 0 and about 2.1, or 0 and negative 2.1. Now this is using the approximated values. Another way to write your foci in the exact values, again, would just be 0 and root 5, or 0 and negative root 5. And so you'll just need to be careful, because if you're asked about exact values, you actually do need to use the radicals versus the approximations that I have in my foci here. Right. So let's do another one. Last one in terms of graphing. Right. And again, we're going to go back to horizontal. And again, the way I know that this is going to be a horizontal graph is because it's the x minus h and then your y minus k in that specific order. All right, so remember, it's all about the numerators. So my a squared is 64, which means a is 8. B squared is 36, so my b value is 6. And now my center is going to be hk, and so that's going to be 1, negative 1. Now again, I need to find my c squared. And so that is a squared plus b squared. which in this case is 100. So my C value is 10. All right, that's going to make it really easy for me to figure out my foci. So let's make our graph. Now we're going to start our center at 1, -1. Okay. And because I'm going horizontally, I'm graphing all of my vertices and foci horizontally. And so I need an A value of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So an A value of 8, and that's going to be a vertex. And now I can also do my foci right now, which ends up needing to be 10 units out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that actually ends up going off my graph by 1 unit. And that's okay. So instead of being here at 10, it really should be over here at 11. And then I'm going to go the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, that's a vertex. 9, 10 is a foci. And then I need to go upwardly 6 for my covertex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Again, make a box that runs through your vertex and your covertex. And sometimes you may need to use, some sort of straight edge to get to those asymptotes. Right. Right. So if you have a ruler, go ahead and use that. Otherwise, just use whatever you have. So going through the center to the corners to create your asymptotes. And this particular question is not asking me what those asymptotes are. I just need them to create my graph. Now this is a little bit kind of crazy because the graph really isn't big enough. But you want to kind of imagine these asymptotes going outwardly a little bit more so that from your vertex you can create the branches. Right. Same thing on this side. Try to extend those out just a little bit further. And again, run through your vertex and outward. And the last phase is just to identify your vertices and your foci. So my vertex is now going to be the coordinate -7, -1, or 9, -1. My foci is -9, -1. Or again, it was 11 and -1. I ended up going off my graph for my foci. There's a little extension to these where you're actually writing an equation based off of information. And that's really what this is down here.